Coming up next on Art Rocks, meet the Monroe man who has won a lifetime's worth of accolades for making and remaking violins.
My wife was Nancy. She had perfect pitch and loved classical music. One day we went to a concert up at Neville High School, and she turned to me and she said, "One of those violins is out of tune." And I said, "Well, I don't know that it's out of tune, but anyway." We got back home and she said, "Let's try to figure out why one violin sounds good and why another one doesn't sound good."
A gathering of artistic beauty.
We ended up organizing the exhibition into what we're calling the 7 lenses or modes of beauty.
And we'll find out the what, the who, and the where behind the Flying Tiger Brewery. That's all coming up right now on Art Rocks.
Like the impulse that drives an artist's creativity, Georgia Pacific's 850 Louisiana employees are driven to produce quality paper products for your home and business. Georgia Pacific is proud to support LPB and Art Rocks.
And by Lamar Advertising Company, proud to support the arts and Art Rocks. Headquartered in Baton Rouge, Lamar's 461 Louisiana employees have been helping brands and businesses reach their customers creatively for over 100 years.
Art Rocks is made possible by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for Art Rocks with me, James Fox Smith, publisher of Country Roads magazine. Up in Monroe, there's a man who's been sweetening the sound of stringed instruments, especially violins, for almost 50 years. Hilton Lytle might be 95 years old, but as his fans and his students will tell you, he's still got more than a few songs left in him.
Oh yeah, I got them old age blues. You know just how bad I feel, man.
Hilton Lytle adores music, and he has discovered that you can make music using just about anything, even an old wash tub. But he's also very serious about making absolutely sure that the violins and other stringed instruments he creates always sound their very best.
My wife was Nancy. She had perfect pitch and loved classical music. I was a country boy and loved country music. And we both learned from each other to like each other's kind of music, I guess. But one day we went to a concert up at Neville High School, and she turned to me and she said, "One of those violins is out of tune." I said, "Well, I don't know that it's out of tune, but anyway." We got back home and she said, "Let's try to figure out why one violin sounds good and why another one doesn't sound good." So we got a chord book that showed all the different chords in instruments and started studying that, and I noticed that the chords of B and C and F sharp had the notes of E, A, D, and G in them. And then wood has always been a favorite thing for me to work with. Any type of wood will have a note in it if you get a piece of it and hold it up and tap it so that you can listen to it hum. And they've been doing that once they beat on hollow logs back in prehistoric towns so that they could drum on a hollow log and communicate. 400 or 500 years ago, people like Stradivarius and Magini and all of those people, they were learning how to do this and using wood that had a strong response and vibration and made beautiful sounds when you bumped it. That's the story of it, and I started building fiddles from scratch, just getting a piece of hard wood, and we finally decided by looking at different fiddles that we could find in pawn shops where you could find them cheap and everything, I'd take them apart and we'd examine them. And finally we decided that if we could get a top of a violin thin down to the right dimensions so that it would have an F sharp tone. In the F sharp tone there's an E, A, D, and G notes, and that's what the violin is tuned to. And then in the bottom we found out if we could get E, A, D, and G in that by making the bottom half of the violin have a B note, and so the B note has E, A, D, and G in it. So we had to think about the kinds of wood and so forth that violins are made from, and it had already been established 300 or 400 years that spruce and maple are the best. So we went to the lumber yard and got some of that and just started whittling on them, and made 3 or 4 violins just like that. And we developed a tone then, the tonal qualities of even those handmade or homemade looking violins was real sweet. The tone of it was sweet. So then they came out with bodies of violins that was in the white that was built in China or Germany or Czechoslovakia. So we started buying those and taking them apart and regraduating them so that we could put an F sharp tone in the top and a B note in the bottom, balancing the top like that on a pencil at the bridge line here. And if I hold that up now and bump it, I'll get a F sharp note. I have the information on 755 violins that I made, about 100 dulcimers. $50 guitars, 40 or 50 mandolins. There's another instrument that's been interesting to me, and it's called a steel guitar. A dobro guitar is amazing, and I made 5 or 6 of those. The thing that's been so important to me is for the children to be interested in playing something and then have an opportunity to have an instrument of their own. So that's been my goal, is to use my Social Security funds to buy the pieces and parts and things, and then give them the experience of building them. It takes up my time in an interesting sort of way, and I'm staying active and in touch with everything that's going on with the schools and kids and people and everything, rather than sitting here isolated and in my little bungalow. This is just an active place here. They want to build one from a kit like this and take the top off of it and scratch it down and shape it down until it has the tap tones of F sharp and B, so that it'll sound good. Sometimes you'll get a level of a little bit different notes and so forth, and they say, let's just try that and see if that'll sound as good as one of those others. So once in a while, as the kids come in and make their own fiddle, and when they leave, they sign out on my guest book in there, and they'll say, mine sounds better than yours, Mr. Hill. And that's what I love, is when they say mine sounds better than yours does. So that's great. The finishing project part of this is to design something that you want to put on the back if you want to have a design on the back. And I use one of those little burning tools that you can get at Hobby Lobby or one of those places like that, and you can put a design on the back. The next step is to get a filler that will seal the wood so that when you put the stain on it, it'll go on evenly and not be blotchy and all that. So what I'll do is go to Walmart or some store like that and get some wood called a stain sealer, and by doing that, then you can also buy stain where it dissolves in water, some in oil, some in lacquer thinner. The stain that I like to use dissolves in lacquer thinner, and it's called alkaline dye. Then you can apply the stain that different shades, whatever you want, dark or light.
Lytle lost his wife and partner in making fiddles, Nancy Clegg Lytle, almost 2 decades ago. But that hasn't slowed him down. How lucky we are, we who love the sound of a superbly made and played violin, that there are still people so passionate, both about the music and about the young people who make it. If you're looking for opportunities to get into the visual and performing arts, Louisiana never lets you down. So here's a list of some of the festivals, the concerts and the exhibits that are headed your way in the weeks to come. To learn more about these and other events in Louisiana, pick up a copy of Country Roads magazine. Another resource, the Art Rocks website features every episode of the program, so just log on to lpb.org and follow the prompts. We've all heard it, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. But now, an exhibition at New York City's Cooper Hewitt Museum is challenging that notion by dividing the concept of beauty into 7 different modes. Curator Andrea Lipps introduces the 7 states of beauty and the work her museum has assembled to reflect them.
Design today is very much still about function and about solving problems. It's very utilitarian. But at the same time, design teases our senses. Designers are always creating objects and environments that inspire us, that provoke us. Beauty is what connects design to sensation and to emotion and to desire, which are these incredibly important components to the human condition. We ended up organizing the exhibition into what we're calling these 7 lenses or modes of beauty. And these 7 lenses of beauty came out of the work itself as we were selecting the designers to participate. We've got perhaps more conventional and traditional notions of beauty, moving from extravagant beauty, which is of course the domain of glamour and luxury and excess and embellishment, to intricate beauty and ethereal beauty, and into more provocative notions that are being practiced today. Transgressive beauty, which is of course challenging very normative standards. Transformative beauty, which is mutating everyday vocabularies and materials in unique ways. And emergent beauty, which is coming out of a generative design practice. The Glass series is created by Neri Oxman, who is a designer and an architect and the founder of MIT Media Lab's Mediated Matter Group. They have created this first of its kind 3D glass printing technology. So what you see are these incredible hollow coils of molten glass that are built layer by layer to form these geometries, with this light cascading out to create caustic patterns onto the table. And really what Neri is doing with this is exploring the technology not only for vessels, but potentially architectural components. You could imagine these as being building skins that could contain different media. Let's say cold water to cool a building, or wires to connect information into a building. Humans Since 1982 is a Swedish design duo who has created this fantastic clock prototype called A Million Times. And what they've done is taken 288 analog clocks and mechanically choreographed the hands of those clocks to spin in all of these incredible, mesmerizing, hypnotic patterns throughout the course of a minute. And then after a minute passes, the clock will pause with a digital readout of the time. And then, of course, that moment dissipates again. So it's really a fantastic evocation of the passing of time. The Afrique series is created by the Haas brothers, which is a design partnership between brothers Nikolai and Simon Haas, along with their collaborators, the Haas sisters, who are a group of beaters from South Africa, from the Kalicha township outside of Cape Town. The Haas brothers give these creatures and these mounds form and life, and then the women themselves bead them and just create incredible colors and spectrums and textures. Sue Fujimoto architects are based in Japan. Now with these models called Architecture is Everywhere, what Sue is doing is exploring everyday, ordinary materials. And by placing scale human figures into these banal materials, it invites you to experience these materials in completely new ways. You begin to see and understand space within these forms. That pine cone form manifests itself in the structure for the Montpellier apartment complex, which is currently being built outside of Paris. And so it's this beautiful evocation of new ways of thinking about and exploring architectural form. We very much invite visitors to come in to experience the exhibition and to think about these concepts and themes and ideas and modes of beauty, and think about how beauty enters your own life and the ways in which beauty manifests itself for you.
Staying in the Big Apple, Clyde Morgan has been teaching students at the State University in New York African dance and culture for upwards of 2 decades. Not long before his recent retirement, Morgan sat down to chat with one of our affiliate reporters.
My name is Clyde Alafiju Morgan, and I am a professor at the college at Brockport. I'm a professor of dance. I teach both modern and African dance and music. And I am the artistic director of the Sankofa African Dance and Drum Ensemble. I've been here for 27 years. I'm going on 76, and it's been a wonderful career in this department. Sankofa African Dance and Drum Ensemble. For me, that's been my destiny, my calling. One of the things that I hope that our audience takes away from a performance is a sense of cultural enthusiasm and something that they would want to bring their mother to, their children to, their parents and friends. I would say that we as a dance department are a unique department in the United States because African dance and African music are not just appendages. They're fundamental parts of the department, and that makes us unique. I've traveled throughout South America. I've been to Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Ecuador. and all in the quest of learning more about African dance and African heritage in general. Before I came, this job laid dormant for 2 years because they couldn't find anyone that satisfied both the modern dance component and the African component. And so that is something that has been solidified. We have administratively and artistically the kind of support that continuity is guaranteed. What I want the audience to go away with is enthusiasm, more knowledge about the contribution of African culture to the world at large, but particularly to our community. And our community is a very, very supportive one.
Back to the boot to raise a glass to our Louisiana Treasures segment. There are plenty of folks doing just that at Flying Tiger Brewing. The owners of Monroe's craft beer upstart started out as bartenders and home brewers, but their excellent beers are gaining them a reputation throughout South Louisiana and beyond. Co-owner Robert Brewer, yeah, that's his name, explains how his company is setting out to quench North Louisiana's thirst for great local craft beer, 1 pint and 1 can at a time.
The Flying Tiger Brewery was a concept of my business partner, James Simpson, who had been home brewing, and we were both kind of had this entrepreneurial spirit and wanted to always bring a business to Monroe, something unique. We chose the name Flying Tiger for our brewery because of the number of local connections in Louisiana to the historic Flying Tigers of World War II. General Chenault, who commanded the Flying Tigers during World War II, was raised in Louisiana, lived in Monroe for a number of years after World War II, graduated from LSU, and we have a number of places around the state named after General Chenault. We have the Chenault International Airport in Lake Charles. We have the Chenault Aviation and Military Museum here in Monroe. We have Chenault Park, among many other things named after him. We even happen to have a few Flying Tiger veterans who are still alive and living in Louisiana, and some in this area. And we thought it was a great way to pay homage to this group and their service to our country, and they were sort of this legendary group from World War II, known for, of course, flying the P-40 Warhawk planes that have the iconic shark-faced nose of the plane, such as we have hanging here in the tap room behind me. As we were thinking about locations, we really felt strongly about being a part of the renaissance that was going on in downtown Monroe. It had been a number of abandoned buildings for many, many years and had become somewhat of an eyesore to visitors and business and residents alike. We didn't start this renaissance, but once we saw it happening, we knew we needed to be down here. This building had sat empty for a number of years. We don't know the exact history of it, but we knew that it had the bones to be something really special, and we didn't want to see it go to waste. We did a lot of renovations, but very little to the bones. All the walls are original. We didn't paint them. We didn't chip any of this plaster off. That's what you see is exactly what was here. Of course, we needed to build a new storefront. We added some features that are required when updating a building, and of course, we built our tap room in here. And this building serves as our tap room where we serve the beers that we brew and make here on premise. It's a great gathering spot for people to have conversation and hang out. It's been well received. People love what we have done with this tap room, and our goal was to try to create some sort of atmosphere that felt like maybe you were out of town and not in Monroe. We've hosted a number of fundraisers here almost once a month for nonprofit 501c3 community organizations, from whether that's the Chenault Museum to the Ouachita Pet Shelter to veterans organizations. And in that first year, we've raised on site here almost $50,000 for other organizations besides ourselves. One of the things that we did, we felt like that the University of Louisiana Monroe is such an important part of the economics of Monroe and what they've done out there on campus, and sometimes I don't feel they get the credit they deserve. So one of the things we wanted to do was highlight that, and so we created Warhawk beer. Obviously they are the ULM Warhawks. It's interesting to note that they chose the name Warhawk to pay homage to the P-40 Warhawk plane. They wanted to have this association with General Chenault, and we can have as few as 25 people maybe in here up to 300 people, depending on what the event is and what we're doing. We're fortunate that we were in this downtown area. We were able to also get some green space. So we have a large fenced-in outdoor area, very nice patio covered. We do a lot of those events outside with live music and things like that. We're pet friendly because we have this great green space outside as well. And it's utilized a number of different ways by folks in the community. We are the only production brewery that brews and cans on premise, probably for about 100 miles. We put in a full-size brewery. We have our own canning line. Some of these are the cans that we have that you can see here. But we're a 5-day-a-week production brewery. If we're not brewing, we're canning. If we're not canning, we're moving beer around and prepping for the next day to perhaps brew. But the guys will work back there every day of the week, and it's a full operational brewery. Currently, we're just distributed in the north part of the state, so that's kind of the Monroe, Ruston, Bossier City, Shreveport along I-20, and we are as far south as Alexandria, but that's it. We're looking to go to Baton Rouge, of course, and maybe New Orleans in the near future. We're only have our legs under us for a year. We're still working on developing our brand and making sure that we're taking care of this market before we expand into a new one. But we're excited for the folks in Baton Rouge and further south to try Flying Tiger beer, and we're excited about partnering with those folks down there soon.
And that is that for this edition of Art Rocks. But remember, you can always watch episodes of the show at lpb.org/artrocks. And if you want more, Country Roads Magazine makes a great resource for getting connected with South Louisiana's unique cultural treasures, in print and online at countryroadsmag.com. Until next week, I'm James Fox Smith, and thank you for watching.